it seemed that the narrative around the United States on all news, leading news shows every night and throughout the day was impeachment. At the same time, Lamar Alexander, chairman of the HELP Committee, the Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee, started to hold briefings specifically about coronavirus.
A deadly and contagious virus from China has made its way into the U.S.
Well, let's remember what it was like then. I mean, there we were for 2 straight weeks, coming in at 1 o'clock, staying till 11, 12, 1 in the morning. In the midst of the 2 weeks of the impeachment trial, this was the first week. And on the 23rd, Senator Cory Gardner from Colorado, came up to me and said, "I'm worried about this COVID-19 virus. I think we ought to get a briefing on it." I walked over and talked to Senator McConnell, and he agreed. And the next day, Senator Murray and I and Senator Risch and the Foreign Relations Committee hosted a briefing of administration officials with a bipartisan group of people in the Senate. Now, this was the middle of impeachment. This was almost immediately after China had announced the virus there.
It wasn't something that happened immediately. It was something that, or in a flash, it was something that developed over time. Obviously, the Chinese, the Communist Party there was doing its absolute best to cover this up. China would not allow its citizens from Wuhan province, where the disease existed, to travel anywhere else in China, but they could travel anywhere else in the world, including the United States of America, and carry the virus with it, but not to other places in China.
The government has asked employees to stay home. Sports centers, museums, libraries, all closed. The 2 largest theme parks here in Hong Kong are closed. School is closed. But as you said, the one thing that isn't closed, at least not completely closed yet, is the border.
A sea of people, shoulder to shoulder, hiding behind protective masks.
So they were willing to have the virus spread to other countries.
Lindsey Graham and I were doing a press conference talking about impeachment, and I chose to start off by talking about this virus that was going to possibly impact the world that was coming out of China. Before getting to the issue of the trial which we're engaged in the Senate right now, let me just, as a doctor, take a couple of seconds to talk about the Wuhan virus and the concerns that have spread around the country, as there have been 2 documented cases now in the United States. We've just had a bipartisan briefing from the National Institute of Health and from experts in this policy area. What we know is they've shut down the airport and restricted the area where the virus was first identified. And as a doctor, what you want to do is identify, diagnose, contain, and prevent additional spread.
I remember talking about the need for a travel ban in the cloakroom while we're in the middle of the impeachment trial, talking with other senators about this could be really dangerous and we need to act.
What we heard about the virus around the world was very concerning. But we were reassured that 4 presidents, several Congresses had worked for 20 years for us to be prepared for this. In the United States, we had maybe 6 cases. Now, give the president some credit. At the end of January, he imposed the strictest foreign travel bans on our country that we'd had in 50 years, which Dr. Fauci said saved many lives by keeping people in China out of the United States.
President Trump appointing a coronavirus task force to help lead the U.S. response to this outbreak. You see some photos from the meetings last night.
I remember vividly being in the cloakroom of the Senate in the middle of the impeachment process when he held a press conference and it was announced that there was this travel ban from China. And the immediate reaction, both by people on news commentators and from many of the Democrats, was that this was xenophobia, that this was unnecessary.
Joe Biden called that hysterical and xenophobic. And Nancy Pelosi, immediately in response to that, didn't say, good, let's stand together, let's protect the American people. She introduced legislation called the No Ban Act to reverse the president's halting of flights into and out of China.
Thank goodness, the end of January, the president made the decision to end travel with China.
There are dozens of countries around the world that got a lot of pressure from China not to cut off flights and have paid a terrible price for it.
I am thrilled to report to you tonight that our economy is the best it has ever been. On the coronavirus outbreak in China, my administration will take all necessary steps to safeguard our citizens from this threat.
Washington Democrats and Republicans are moving on after a long and bitter impeachment fight.
A month later, February 29th, leap year day, Nancy Pelosi is still in Chinatown saying, come to Chinatown. I know in New York, the Mayor de Blasio there, into March, was saying, hey, this is manageable. It's not going to be something by casual contact. Well, they were both wrong.
Some places like Italy are doing mass school closures. That's not on the menu here.
The problem is it's very aggressive and it's spreading in other countries. It will inevitably spread here. We want to contain that spread when it comes. And as the New York Times reported on its front page, March the 1st, most experts believed, quote, that the United States was as well prepared as any country for this virus.
The World Health Organization now says there are more new cases of the coronavirus outside China than inside that country.
We were beginning to get a glimmer that this was different.
If the Chinese government hadn't censored and silenced the critical health information about this pandemic, we could have saved hundreds of thousands of lives.
But it was mid-March when everything seemed to collapse.
Disneyland in California will close beginning Saturday. Maryland and Ohio are both ordering schools closed.
It moves so fast.
35,000 New York City employees will be told to work from home.
Markets in free fall this morning.
NBA is suspending the season.
So then we started thinking, what are we going to do? You could see things closing down.
There was a real danger that this economy just comes completely unglued.